Namaste everyone. Welcome to Advaita Vedanta Satsang House, the ongoing sessions around Bhagavad Gita from an Advaita perspective, very meticulously offered by Binduji. We are on chapter 6. The earlier rooms are available. If you want to listen to them, you can access them in Clubhouse as replays, or you can access them in YouTube, Advaita Retold YouTube channel. The link is shared in the chat. The other two sources are Apple Podcasts and Spotify, where you will find the same lectures available as audio platforms. For housekeeping, I'm going to close the chat and hand raising when Bindoji will be offering the class, which will last for about an hour, after which we'll open up those channels if you have any clarifications or questions. With that short introduction, over to you, Bindoji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prakash. Namaste and Hari Om to all of you. Let me start my invocation. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashikritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtiveda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The Gita Dhyana Slokam. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudramarutaha Stunmandi Divyaistavai Vedai Sangapadakramो Upanishadai Gayandiyam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyandiyam Yogino Yasyandam Navidussura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Yesterday's class, we took a revision of verses 20 to 23. And the verse 23 has got two sets of rendering, in the sense that the explanations, it can be seen in the different commentaries. I did touch upon the Shankaracharya's commentary yesterday because I was not having my laptop with me, and I had prepared some notes on that, which I have today. So I will touch upon that aspect also, apart from what I explained last class. This rendering is slightly traditional in the approach and is sticking to the Advaitic tradition which Shankaracharya himself has brought forth with. So we will go through the 23rd verse with the Shankara's commentary in mind. And yesterday Srinivas was asking about the Dukkha Samyoga Viyogam. There the Dukkha Samyoga Viyogam, as per Shankaracharya, is in a different connotation. So we will see that. Dukkha Samyoga Viyogam Yoga Sanjitam Tam Vidyat. That means, let one know that which is called the yoga to be the severance of connection with suffering. So here the word Dukkha Samyoga Viyogam has taken a different meaning altogether. Saha yogaha nischayena anirvirna chetasa yoktavyaha. that yoga is to be practiced with a determination and with a mind that is not dejected. See, the word anirvarna chetasa is not actually dejected, but we should understand that the word or the word meaning is with a mind that is not disheartened or despondent. That is why some people translate it as dejected. See, dejection can come only when there is a, expectation and a attitude of the mind for a certain kind of result. Expectation, basically. Whereas disheartening can come from two aspects. One is the dejection. The other one is reduced interest, not because of dejection, but because of the mind finding something more attractive. So naturally, it's a sort of, that also comes under as the anirvarna chetasa. So the tam vidyat, let that be known, or should know, let one know that dukkha samyoga viyogam. This has been used in the Shankara's commentary as a tatpurusha within tatpurusha. That is the severance of connection with suffering, a critical compound. How does it spread out? Dukkha, the literal meaning is suffering, pain or discomfort or dis-ease, not disease, but dis-ease. Basically, it is suffering in the samsara dukkham, or the samsara itself is the dukkham when it is being understood here. They are coming from Adhyatmika, Adi Bhaudika and Adi Devika. That is that only the dukkha which is being referred here? The samsara itself is seen as dukkha by Shankaracharya. And what is samsara? Or what is the experience of human life for us? It is a mixture of happiness and sorrow within the realm of the mind and the intellect, or the indriyas. But all these things commence with a samyoga. So dukkhasya samyoga is the first compound. That means the conjunction of samsara, or the connection which forms the samsara, or joining of the happiness and sorrow in the form of samsara, when you identify with that. So here the connection becomes the identification. The viyoga is the severance or separation or dissolution of the connection. It is not the what you call detachment or separation in literal meaning. It is the undoing of the samyoga. the connection with which we became the human beings, that need to be undone. That is what is the dukkha samyoga viyoga. Basically, it is to know that we are not the human beings. The I which we are referring to. Yesterday I gave an indication toward that. We are not able to know the I without any adjective to that. I am the body, I am the thought, I am the feeling, or I am the relation with the body. Father to my son, etc. So what happens is that the samyoga viyoga, that samyoga with which we make ourselves as the father or the body or the thoughts, emotions and feelings, etc., is the samyoga, because of which we enter into a field of happiness and sorrow, which is the samsara. So this association is born out of avidya or adhyasa. It can happen only when we do not know who we are. Like the not knowing the rope can create the appearance of the snake, or our eagerness for the beauty of the ornaments, the gold is overlooked. Like that, so many examples which we know, we have been going through them every time and then. But here there is a particular aspect which is referred as terminologically the real yoga. As a terminology wise, yoga sangeetam. Sangeetam means terminology, giving a terminology for it. All the earlier way mentioning of that, sitting on a pedestal, high or low, like that, all of them, they are all for the beginners. Then Krishna mentioned about the state of the yoga ruda, one who have achieved the state of yoga. There he did not define yoga, but he explained the state of the mind of the yoga ruda, or the one who has achieved the yoga. But here he is defining yoga. Dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga sanjita is what is called as the yoga sangeetam. So the dukkha samyoga viyoga is the most important aspect, and that is the yoga which we should be practicing. This can be practiced only the mind and the intellect is the one which is taking on the ignorance or the avidya or the adhyasa to make us feel that we are the human beings. It is in the same place where the I-ness operates also for all of us. That is why when the mind andakarana is being divided, it is saying mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta. The ahankara is not that, even though it is translated as ego, it is not the egoistic aspect of, but it is the individualization. The feeling that I am a jiva or a limited human being, limited spatially by the body, time-wise between birth and death. This is how the experience of human life is defined as. And that is happening when the awareness functioning through the instrument, inner instrument, identifies, associates with the other three aspects of the same mind, which namely is mana, buddhi and chitta. So that is why that mind is categorized as the four aspects of mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta. The same ahankara in the inner instrument is what is the place where the buddhi grahyam will happen. It is not by the mind, not by the intellect, not by the chitta. That I, which is now identifying as you and me as individuals, when grasps its real nature, Atmani Atmanam Pashyan, Atmani Tushyati. That is the time when the Avrita Chakshu, or that, the knower knowing itself, that Aparoksha Anubhava takes place. When that Aparoksha Anubhava takes place, the Viyoga takes place. The identification which the I had with the mind and intellect and the memories is not identified as my memories, my mind, my intellect. But it is seen as what is, we call it as appearance. They don't have reality because they are limited in time. All aspects of mind, intellect and the memory has a beginning and end. Therefore, it is a product within time. Whereas we found yesterday that I, the Atman, is timeless. So the precision with which Shankaracharya formulates this one is that the connection, the samyoga between the jiva and the suffering was not an original or essential connection. Because samyoga, by definition, implies two things. That when being brought together is where the connection takes place. But when the two things are intrinsically one, how can there be a connection? So since the connection was contingent or produced by samyoga due to non-apprehension of itself, it can be dissolved by knowledge. That dissolution which takes place and disassociates the identity with the mind and intellect or the body-mind complex is the samyogasya viyoga. That means the disassociation of the association. This is the precisely what yoga is defined as. Atman's original nature is not having been freed from suffering, but has never having been truly connected to suffering. That is the liberation term, moksha, term emancipation. All those terms are when we are looking down to the top of the cliff, or from our limited individual association with the body-mind complex, we feel we need liberation. But when the Shastra, the teacher and the teaching says that we are Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhava, we are eternally free, we never needed freedom. Our nature is to be free. That is why we were free to associate with the changes. If we were not free, we would not have been able to possible to shift from childhood to adolescent to old age or middle age or etc. Or from a thin person putting on weight to become a fat person, a person losing eye to still continue to feel the fullness of the eye, not the EYE, but the individuality I. Even when he is handicapped by in things, the handicapped nature of the body is not limiting the freedom the individuality feels. So the original nature is freedom or liberated, mukta swabhava. That is why Atma is referred as Kudastha, Vilakshana, Sakshi, etc. Different terms. And that, when we do that, realize that, in the sense, doing is not an action. It is a knowing. That is what is called the yoga. How do we arrive at that? Nischaya, ena nischayena. By means of thorough determination. Nischaya is the cognitive counterpart of vairagya, dispassion. Where vairagya is the motivational turning away from objects, Nischaya is the cognitive settling into the path. So Nischayena Yoktavya, when Krishna mentioned that, to be practiced with determination, it marks the yoga practice as requiring not causal or occasional engagement, but a total, unconditional, unequivocal commitment. Shankaracharya reads Nischaya here as Nischita Adhikara, the settled conviction of one who has made the irrevocable decision within himself. This yoga, that is the yoga of Dukkha Samyoga, is the only thing worth pursuing in life. I will practice it with complete determination until it is accomplished. That is the decision he is taking. But at the same time, we should understand that the Nischaya, which is an intellectual thing, operates at two levels. One is the intellectual nischaya, the firm understanding, nishtita jnana, that the yoga described, the state of what has been referred between the verses 20 to 22 as a genuine, attainable, supremely valuable. That is an intellectual nischaya. Without this intellectual settlement, the practice will be plagued by doubt, samshaya, ajnana, samshaya, viparya. Is this real? Is this attainable? Is this worth the effort? The doubt will be that the greatest obstacle for yoga. Because Krishna in the 4th chapter has said, no, samshayatma vinashyati. The doubting person leads himself into doomsday. But the same nischaya, when it is not an intellectual activity, but a volitional activity, the firm resolve, that is Dhrida Sankalpa, to practice continuously without interruption, without being diverted by alternate distractions, easier paths, or, disheartening experiences, sometimes apparent failure not to control the mind, sometimes the body giving away to temptations. We feel it is a failure. These are all volitional things, which is, we need to understand that. That is why there is a term called satatam, means continuously, unabatedly, which was mentioned in 6.1 as a volitional commitment. Anirvanna chetasa, that is why that emotional motivational center of the chetas becomes nirvirna, means one who is giving up. Anirvarna means one who does not give up. So, with the mind that has not become despondent and or, self-pitying or self-blaming, the psychological counterpart of Nischaya, where Nischaya is the positive cognitive volitional determination, Anirvidna Chetasa is the negative condition, the absence that would determine the defeat of Nischaya. Shankaracharya says that Anirvidna Chetasa is the one who does not allow apparent setbacks in the practice to translate into fundamental despondency about the practices and the path. When concentration fails, when vasanas reassert themselves and we fall prey to the temptations or the progress seems elusive, when the nirvirna parama shanti seems to be impossible as a distant impossibility, that is the anirvirna chetasa. Maintains that foundational conviction of the path is real, the goal is genuine, and the practice will ultimately bear fruit, is the decision nischayena he takes it. So when we have understood this aspect of it, we need to now understand that how do we achieve this? It is not an easy thing. How do we stop becoming a human being and becoming the I the human being is using? We have no idea how to do that. So Krishna is helping us in the 24th to 28th verse. He is giving us the methodology. Actually, normally the methodology is given and the fruit of the methodology is explained. But here Krishna has mentioned the fruit of the methodology before, and he is now getting into the methodology. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman tektva sarvan asheshata manasai indriya gramam viniyamya samantata. Oh, the word samantata has come here also. The verse number 24. Sarvan sankalpa prabhavan kaman asheshata tyaktva is the first aspect, which means having completely abandoned. Asheshata means without reminder or without any remaining things there, which means all desires born of sankalpa. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman. Kaman desires. Sankalpa prabhavan. Prabhavan means originated or born out of sankalpa. Sankalpa is volition. Manasa eva indriya gramam samantataha viniyamya. Yogi yogam yunjyat. That is not given, but is to be understood. Having thoroughly governed the entire collection of sense organs from all sides of the mind, the yogi, yogam yunjyat. That is the place where the yoga is to be practiced. So here, by giving this definition, Krishna is telling us what our mind is. He is not defining it as mind, but he is giving the nature of our mind. Let us look each of the words. Sankalpa prabhavan. Sankalpa means volition, or what the mind is capable of projecting. And that prabhava is meaning origin, birth or source. That means desires born of sankalpa. Kaman is desires. So this is what is the nature of the mind. Every desire has a origination and a end. So that what has got a beginning and end is an appearance. It is really not there. The real truth or the reality is that which never changes. So all the desires which we are going through the mind, that desires means here all things which should bring us under the, is originating out of the sankalpa. Imagination, emotion, feelings, thoughts, the identification with the body, mind, intellect complex, everything is included in that. Sarvan asheshata tyaktva. Sarvan means all of them, all kamas, all desires, or all things originating in the mind as volition. Asheshata means without reminder, completely, leaving nothing behind as a reminder. There is no way you can go back to the mind for a projection. The word tyaktva means absolutely having abandoned or having completely relinquished. It may appear to be a very easy statement, but for a moment, let us look into it. What will happen when our mind is not able to do the sankalpa, the volitional activity of it? It has not gone into deep sleep. Mind. It is not that it is in a state of slumber or deep sleep or intoxication or things like that. We are fully aware of what is happening. But at the same time, we have disassociated with that, tyaktva, abandoned. The mind and its operations are not me. If you can think in that direction, there is no going back to that mind saying that, okay, I was in meditation, now I am back. There is no going back to that. That is why Krishna said that Asheshata Sarvan Tyaktva. Completely without reminder means without going back to it. How do we do that? Manasa, by the same mind, through the mind. But what type of a mind? Indriya Gramam Vinayamya. Now he has used a word, Indriya Gramam. The typical meaning of Gramam means it's a village. But it has also the meaning of assemblage or collection or multitude. These are the different meaning of the word grama has got. So when it is used as Indriya Grama, we have to understand that the word Indriya has a larger connotation. It is not only talking about the sensory inputs. Normally, Indriyas mean sensory objects, sense organs and their functions. But here, when he is using along with the Indriya Grama, it is an assemblage of all that is possible for the senses, both perception and action. That is, what is the activity of the mind is to, receive inputs and react to the inputs. So reception and reaction. What is happening in the mind, either in waking or dream or deep sleep, wherever it is, the entirety is to be taken. That is why it is called Indriya Grama. To enforce or to seal the meaning of Indriya Grama, Krishna is using one more word, samantataha. It is an adverb which indicates from all sides in every direction. or comprehensively. All around. Samanta. Samanta means all around. Samanta means all around, and the taha means from every direction. Leaving no aspect ungoverned. So the Indriya Gramam becomes not just the assemblage of Indriyas activities, but the impact of that on the eye when it is associating with the mind. See, that is why when we analyze these verses of Krishna, he is talking about high-level psychology, which today even a psychologist will find it difficult to explain it in such a way. They may have standard models and standard medicines for suppressing it, but never freeing it from the root cause, which you will find here in Gita. So controlling the mind, when we disassociate the entirety of the senses, all type of senses, and in all experiences, whether it is waking, dream, or deep sleep. That is what we define as who we are. And the moment we disassociate with that identity, the I has no place to identify with. That is the dukkha samyoga viyoga. The dukkha is when the indriyas are in operation. The association with the dukkha makes us the human beings. When we know that this is all brought by due to the indriyas and their reception and reaction of inputs, and when we abandon them from all aspects, the individual I cannot operate in the mind level. That is why the word eva has got an importance in this statement. Why? Because when we are taking a picture of the totality of our individuality with the mind, its operations, what we know is desires and fulfillment of desires for which we toil up and down every day and night, every living moment. We all of us are trying or attempting to do, we call it as life, but really speaking, what we are doing is to satisfy the desires created in the mind. Have we ever thought what is life? We don't. We are not doing an analysis what is my life. From the time I remember to this very moment of my life, I call my life as my living. But in the process of living, what I have been doing is creating desires from volition and then trying to meet the desires by satisfying the desire, for which all activities of the body, mind and intellect is put into force. So the whole life, what we call it as life, is stemming out of the mind in the form of kaman or desires from the sankalpa prabhavan kaman. And meeting that kaman or the meeting it, satisfying those desires, I forget myself that I am living for meeting these desires. I am always free and independent and knowing these things happening, but I forgot it and I associated with myself with the Sankalpa Prabhava. And therefore I became the individual with the body, mind, intellect complex as a limited one. And that starts all the problems of my sorrow. But my true nature was the sorrowlessness, state of sorrowlessness. We don't call it as happiness. Let us put a word bliss for it. Not in the terms of happiness, but the absence of sorrow or absence of desires and its gratification. That is the bliss which we are talking about. And that is possible only when we know that the mind is the place where these things are happening. And it is in the same mind where the individuality also is operating. So Sankalpa Prabhavan, born out of the Sankalpa, their origin, is the causal specification of karma. Karma does not arise spontaneously from nowhere. Have you ever thought about analyzed about each of the desires? Has them sprung up automatically from nowhere? Suddenly had a desire. That statement has all the foolishness in it. Nothing can happen suddenly without a cause. And the cause for that sudden desire is what we call it as the volition or the sankalpa. That specific cause, sankalpa, understanding this relationship is important for us to know the mind. The volitional mental projection, which is the sankalpa, that constitutes an object as a desirable and claims it as a potential possession, puts forth all our functional instruments in the body for achieving it. This object is existing. It has such and such a qualities becomes that are good. I like it. The desires have sprung on in me. And now I would like to fulfill that. Therefore, I desire this object and let me achieve it. The life goes on like that. Moment to moment, we are living for satisfying desires. Karma. It is the motivational consequence of sankalpa. Once the sankalpa has constituted as an object as desirable, the karma arises as an effective response. The yearning for the object constituted by the sankalpa. So the sankalpa gives rise to kama, kama gives rise to the karma for achieving it, and that leads to the cycle of samsara. This chain is same to the third chapter where the 37th verse. Kama has the greatest enemy, rajas and avidya. The same thing that this chapter or this verse is approaching it from the root. So then when the elimination of kama requires the elimination of the sankalpa, which is precisely what the sarva sankalpa sannyasa, which was mentioned in the fourth chapter, or the fourth verse, or the 18th verse, nispriha sarva kamebhyaha, as a yogaruda's condition. Asheshata, this has got different aspects of it. Not most desires. Asheshata means every single one of them. Not the gross desires. Asheshata means the subtlest residual traces also of any of the desire to be included. Not mere the active desires. Asheshata includes even the dormant vasanas, the latent desire impressions that have not yet become active kama. That is why the indriya grama word was used in this verse. To include the vasanas. Grama often simplifies the collective, like a samuha. Gana means group. Its village implies that a community of diverse members functioning together as a unit. So when the indriya grama is referred here, it's not merely a list of 10 separate organs, like 5 senses of perception and 5 senses of action. No. It is an integrated functional system that operates collectively to constitute, to become the individual and his sensory world. This connects to the samantataha from all sides. The governance must be comprehensive, leaving no member of the group ungoverned. And how do we do that? Manasa eva. By the mind alone, precisely by the mind. The specification, the instrument of indriya governance can be done only through the mind. Why mind? Manas is the corridor controller and the corridor for the indriyas to function both inwardly and outwardly. So the sense organs gives the input, the sense organs of action works towards fulfilling that. It is the Advaitic psychophysiology. Atman as the pure witness, functioning through the mind, through the intellect, buddhi, discriminating intelligence, controls the mind, which is the deliberating, directing faculty, which is in control of the indriya grama. And indriya grama are the one which are in contact with the sense objects in the world, which is put outside by the mind itself as external to it. Therefore, the desire starts. If it had known that it is not external, it is included in the Swarupa, all-inclusive Atman, then the mind would not have had any desire to it. The mind stands immediately above the Indriya Grama in the psychophysical hierarchy. It is the immediate governor for all senses, directing them toward or away from the objects, sustaining or withdrawing engagement and disengagement. The senses per se have no independent operational capacity. They become capable of doing it with the help of the mind. They are instruments, but somebody should operate the instrument. Therefore, manasa viniyamya, governing by the mind, all of them, redirecting the mind itself away from the engagement, what is being brought by the indriyas, and therefore the sense organs also do not function, which is some sort of a withdrawal of the senses from the sense objects. And why mind alone? Manasa eva. It is to exclude the external coercion, bahya nigraha. That external objects have no handle to twist us and become victims to run after them. They are mere objects. But the moment the Indriya Grama gets into the support of the mind, the objects appear to be having a handle to control us. Therefore, the mind alone can withdraw it, because objects will remain as objects. What is an attraction to me need not be an attractional object to another person. That shows the objects are independent and free. But it becomes a handle for me to become a victim for it, or driven towards that, or force me to work to achieve that, is when my mind is uncontrolled. It is not a physical suppression by holding the eyes shut or the ears blocked or etc. It is using the mind while in operation. That is the beauty of it. The mind should continue to be in operation. Then only it can control. If you have regulated the mind by a single thought and mano nigraha, etc., which is the yoga path, you don't have control over the mind. You are suppressing the mind. But here Krishna says, manasa eva, indriya gramam samyamya viniyamya. That is the beauty of the Yogaruda or the Jivan Mukta. They can continue to live in the world. They are not abandoning the world. but the world cannot control them. But you and me, we do not control the Indriya Grama with our mind. Therefore, the objects control us, appear to control us. But the problem is with us. We always find problem with everything else in the world for our problems, never realizing that we are the problem for us. Atmaiva bandhu atmanaha, atmaiva ripur atmanaha. We studied that in earlier verses. So this is where Krishna begins the next 4 verses for controlling and achieving the Atmani Atmanam, Atmana Atmanam Pashyat, Atmani Tushyati. That state of our true nature abiding in ourselves can happen when we completely follow the instruction by Krishna in the coming next 3 verses also. We'll continue this tomorrow at the same time to verse number 25. Tomorrow we'll take that. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Binduji. I've opened the chat and the request to join option is available if you want to come up and have a question and answer discussion with Binduji, or if you have any clarifications. And I see Artemisia on the stage. Greetings, Artemisia. Namaste.
Namaste Artemisha.
You mentioned that our signal might be in and out yesterday, so
Yeah, that's right.
Fine. It's just a difficult spot. I'm happy to be here.
nice to have you
Okay.
here. Namaste, Srini.
Thank you. Namaste Srini.
Hi, Namaste Bindaji, Namaste Prakashji. So Bindaji, so today's session, what it seems is like, is it saying that that the Ajnana state is the Samyoga and that's why we have to do the Viyoga kind of thing? Is that the right understanding?
Yes, that's right.
So because by default we are in Ajnana, in the sense by after like, so that Samyoga, which is anyway happening because of our indulgence or something like that. So
Yeah.
the point is to, use the technique and achieve the Viyoga kind of thing. And that is the yoga.
That is the yoga sanjidam, samyoga viyogam. Samyoga, that is the association of the consciousness, I, with the mind, intellect and the memory or the body-mind complex. Makes us feel we are human beings living individual life. We do not know we are consciousness. We think we have consciousness as a qualification or a quality in us. It is not, because we are familiar with the consciousness which is known in the mind or the intellect as information gathering or understanding, etc. as the aspects of consciousness. But the consciousness per se is devoid of any of functions. It is just like a light. That is how Shastra says that. The light or the sun has no role to whatever is happening in the light of it. Good, bad or ugly, doesn't matter. It has no role or no authorship or no, doership. That is the Viyoga what we being talked about. The reverse of it is what I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. That is the Samyoga. And there, when you are doing that, I am the doer, then the enjoyer, you become the individual. That is what Krishna is saying as the yoga is manasa eva. But it cannot be achieved. It is, even though it is the reality and the truth, to know that has to happen in the mind. And that can happen only when the Samyogasya Viyoga takes place.
Yoga is basically referring to the knowledge of self, right? And in that, because that
Right. That
is the
Viyoga
opposite.
is the knowledge. Absolutely right. You are right.
That is the opposite of that will create, you use some word of something like counterpart of the Samyoga or something like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Bindaji. Got it.
Thank you, Srini. Namaste, dude.
Namaste. So just want to say thank you. Always impressed with your ability to be so, structured and articulate and do these rooms on a regular basis. It's amazing. I don't think you get enough thanks and appreciation, but that's not why you're doing it either. So it's just, just for fun, as Prakash is here and he's got quite an, immense knowledge of the environment. I was wondering if the esteemed panel wanted to talk about the room today and how the environment impacts all of that.
Prakash.
Yes, Binduji, actually I had a question yesterday, but here the environment is, because you used the word habitat yesterday, you remember habitat for the mind.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So in that sense, maybe you can elaborate on how you, contextualize that, because for the habitat, right, there is a habit, right? So normally in ecology, you have the habit and the habitat, right?
Right.
So these two words are paired together. So if you want, maybe you can elaborate on that, because, the Advaita language is probably not receptive for many people who are not involved in Shravana Manana. They might have only an outsider knowledge, right?
Right.
So can you
So what we
elaborate
call
on
what we call it as an environment, or what we call it as the arena. I don't want to call the word environment. The moment we call it environment, people think about air and pollution, water and contamination, etc., etc. That is not the environment. Environment is surrounding you, or you are the center and everything else around you is the environment. Now, this is a creation of the mind as per Advaita. Not as per Advaita, as per the Shastra. We have created our world. And this creation of our world, we may have a shared experiences, we may have, terminologies to define those connections, etc. But basically, each one of you becomes a building block in my environment. You will have your own world. I may become a part of, 1 hour of a day or a building block of the environment of the day, 24 hours. But what we are talking about here is not the experiences in that, what we call it as environment. The environment or the arena or my life. I am using different words so that people can think from different angles. The world which I have created, it is not that, I have created each item in that world. They are already there, but they become a part of my world only when I am connected with it. An unknown object lying in the middle of a Sahara desert in Africa is not in my life. So I am not connected with that and doesn't affect me. It is there as an object. But the moment I refer to it, that it is not affecting me, I have brought it into my world as an object which will not affect me. Which means that there are objects which are affecting me. So both the one which are affecting me and which are not affecting me should be included in the totality of the environment. That is why this particular verse says the word samantata, the word which is totality or all round aspect of it. This is what is, I call it as the creation of the mind. The association to that which affects me and which does not affect me is defined by my mind. And my mind, by habit, chooses which will affect and which will not affect. That is why I use the word habitat of the mind. This creates the totality of what affects me and what affects each one of you has got your own limitation. That is why it is the mind of you, mind of me, or mind of somebody else, which is creating our world. We pick and choose which are the connected ones, disconnected ones. The unknown ones are neither in the connected ones or disconnected ones. Until we knew about the solar system's things which is beyond the solar system, the Milky Way or the galaxies and the black hole, etc., was never a point of which affects us. But the moment their existence were known, brought to me by information in my mind, they become a wanted or connected or disconnected item. Until and unless I knew that it was not of importance or it was not even existing for me. So my world, when we talk about, we are talking about the world which affects us, which doesn't affect us. The unknowns are outside it. So the total environment which we are talking about is not what is getting polluted and contaminated, etc. It is which contaminates my mind, making me affected by that. So we should learn to stay aloof from getting contaminated. That is the Samyoga Viyoga which is Krishna is talking about.
Thank you, Binduji. There's some
Yeah, that
deep
was
manana there.
beautiful.
Good.
I
Yeah.
kept it vague, it kind of by purpose, and it was great, the way in which you discussed the environment, how it impacts a sentient being, and and also the habitat of the mind. Yeah, very well done.
Thank you. Okay, we'll meet tomorrow. Continue it.
Sure, Binduji. Thank you everyone for coming and attending this session. And special thank you to all of you who came up and asked questions and engaged with Binduji. We will meet again tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. IST, and then we'll continue with Bhagavad Gita. In the meantime, if you want to access the replays in Clubhouse, or if you want to go to the YouTube channel and listen to the replays, that will strengthen your participation for your own self, because it helps in bringing focus to the specific verses which Binduji is elaborating. And yes, so thank you all for coming, and over to you, Binduji. I think Artemisia is unmiked. She might want to say something.
She did want to say something. I couldn't sneak it in yesterday, but I want to just really acknowledge you, Prakash. Cause when, Bindu and I started this house, we had another person who was, graciously, assisting us, but there came a point where we really needed another person. And, we felt that you would be the right one, and you've really developed your whole style of moderating over the last year or two. It really shows. It's very professional and respectful. And I personally, as you and Bindo know, really appreciate it, because I felt that, at this time I wanted to be present, but that moderating was not the right, role for me unless I need to step in if something isn't going smoothly and so forth. So I just really want to acknowledge you. You've taken on a lot, and, you're doing a really beautiful job. And so thank you very much. And of course, Bindo, I always appreciate you, because we wouldn't be here without you. Thanks for giving me a moment.
Thank you, Artemisia. You are right. Prakash is doing wonderful by moderating in the right way. He has developed his own style, and it's working very well. Thank you, Prakash, for it. And thank you all for being here. We'll continue our discussions on the Bhagavad Gita tomorrow. Saturday we'll be taking a rest, and Sunday we'll have the open house. So see you all tomorrow for the continuation. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Binduji. Thank you.